Frieza is finally going to give Goku the pizza he deserves. Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now, judging from the amount of people that watched my Dragon Ball Super review for the latest episodes, a lot of you were indeed watching the 1 hour special that was provided to us. Well, I say 1 hour, more like 45 minutes of 2 episodes. That still counts as special, right? I mean, that is if you're watching the Crunchyroll version. And don't you worry, I've got more to say about that version. Before we begin, I'd just like to state the obvious that there will be spoilers concerning the events of Dragon Ball Super episode 109 and 110. So if you haven't watched those 2 episodes yet, I seriously suggest that you go watch them. You will not be disappointed. They were amazing. Okay, you good? Right, let's go. So, that was a fight, wasn't it? In all honesty, I think that was probably one of the most thrilling and most intense fights or experiences that we've seen in the entire franchise of Dragon Ball, especially when it comes to Dragon Ball Super. Despite the fact that the show is slightly compromised, being actually aired at 9 AM on a Sunday morning instead of its typical Wednesday evening slot during the Dragon Ball Z days, it was still quite perilous. It still really got the pulse racing. It was certainly a decent amount of tension for what it was. I already had a very unsettling feeling when it came to Jiren, but those feelings have now gone through the roof after what we saw, because you just think, how on earth can you beat this guy? In fact, Haverock and I have a lot more to say about Jiren and Goku in our upcoming follow-up to the Super Saiyan Colors video that I did a while back and has proven very popular, in fact my most popular video to date. Later this week we will be touching on issues concerning colour, especially the colour grey when it comes to the Ultra Instinct Goku form, as well as what we saw with Jiren. There's a lot more to talk about after what we saw, but that's for another video. Today we're going to be talking about the episode specifically. I wish to touch upon in more detail than I did in the review what this episode did for the community, how I personally felt, as well as that last scene at the ending of 110, as well as a particular missing scene from the Crunchyroll version that was broadcast on the TV version in Japan. Yeah, that did happen, and that needs to be addressed. There was indeed a missing scene from what we saw in episodes 109 and 110. Now, if you were following me on Twitter, at MasakoX by the way, you might have noticed I retweeted something that was blaming Crunchyroll for all of this mess, and that, oh, it was their fault. Yeah, I jumped the gun on that one, and I apologise. It is nothing to do with Crunchyroll. They are merely just distributing what was provided to them from the likes of Toei and Fuji TV. But thanks to the user WH88, he was able to pull the scene from the TV version and compare it to the Crunchyroll version, and there is a very sizable amount that was trimmed off the 2 episode streams that we got. In total, the amount that was cut from episode 109 totaled about a minute, and that's a very weird decision to make. Granted, when you actually look at the scene that was cut, it may not seem all that important because most of the time it's just everyone going, "Dad, get on with it! Push it back, Kakarot! Yeah, it's just usual DBZ fluff, but that's what we like! Them screaming at the top of their lungs is so familiar. It's what made the show what it was back in the early 2000s, so to us, we welcome it. It doesn't seem like filler at all, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me. And if you actually want to check out that video in full, I'll leave a link to it in the description and up top. So even though it may have been a lot of screaming, there are still some things that we can take away from that scene. One of those things in particular is a biggie, and that concerns the Grand Priest. For the first time in any scenes that we've seen of the Omni King and the Grand Priest, the Omni Kings had to be protected. The Grand Priest was afraid of something. He had to put up a barrier so that the Omni Kings were protected from the Spirit Bomb. That is weird. Why would the Grand Priest get so worked up over something like that? I mean, yeah, sure, the Spirit Bomb has never been seen outside of Universe 7 before, so it's unfamiliar territory, but in terms of power, it shouldn't be any kind of bother for the Omni Kings or the Grand Priest, but here it was. The likes of Jiren hadn't bothered the Grand Priest before, he wasn't very wary about that guy, but now? It seems like double standards, or something about the Spirit Bomb is unnerving the gods up top. Now why is that though? He shouldn't be afraid of this, right? The Spirit Bomb is only meant to be used against malevolent forces. It is used to combat negative energy by actually collating positive energy together and having someone pure of heart to be able to manipulate that thing in the first place. So if these are gods and heavenly beings, they shouldn't have to worry about it, right? They've got nothing to fear. Now, Goku might have used this attack out of desperation. He wasn't quite sure what Jiren was, and he is actually quite hard to read. Is he a neutral person? Is he a bad guy with evil undertones that are just very discreet? You didn't really know, but Goku had to try something. What kind of bad guy is lying underneath that spandex suit? As I explained in my video about the Spirit Bomb, linked to that in the description and up top, I talked about the fact that the Spirit Bomb is just essentially heaven's essence manifested in the form of mortal beings. So mortal beings are taking heaven's essence, what created them, and then just hurling it back at them. The Genki part of the Genki Dharma refers to all the base ki that is present in every single bit of matter. Genki is wholly divine and pure. It comes from the heavens and brought down. It's essentially stardust in a way, if you want to get all scientific about it. So if you put it that way, we might actually be seeing the Grand Priest showing his cards a little sooner than he would have liked, in two respects. One, the Omni Kings might not be as invincible as we first thought, and two, the Grand Priest might be afraid of something specific. The fact that mortal beings are getting so powerful that they can actually rebel against the godly beings that created them. It might mean that the Tournament of Power was a really bad idea. It's just showing the gods of destruction, the Kais, the Omni Kings, the Grand Priest that, yeah, mortals aren't meant to be messed with, and they are getting really powerful, especially like for Jiren and now Goku, especially with the Ultra Instinct form, the Gods of Destruction getting the real heebie-jeebies about that, by the way. They need to keep these guys in check, or for some reason, protect themselves, something they've never had to do before. Now, speaking of Ultra Instinct, the Grand Priest wasn't bothered by that at all, but the Gods of Destruction were, because that power could equate to something that the Gods of Destruction, they might be worried, but the Grand Priest isn't. So how could a form like that not bother the GP at all, but just a piddly Spirit Bomb did? That's really interesting. The Gods of Destruction, who were closer to the action than the Grand Priest was, didn't bat an eyelid at the likes of the Spirit Bomb, then what gives here? There's something suspicious going on here. They should have been even more scared or trying to flee, but no, they just stood there and go like, oh, that is really cool. It's all the more telling. What is he hiding? Is there something that the Grand Priest knows that we don't? I mean, it's a little early to try and base conclusions, but it's certainly food for thought going forward. I almost forgot to say this about the clip. One last thing. The Grand Priest, he actually said something while he put up the barrier. It was nothing jovial or nonchalant. It was actually quite serious. He basically just said, "This is not good," and then put the barrier up. He looked quite stern. He was very serious. He was worried that the Spirit Bomb might just take out the entire arena and maybe endanger the Omni Kings. He was paranoid, and he just let it show to every one of us. What's got you so worked up, GP? And why was that scene cut specifically from the Crunchyroll version? Only time will tell about that one. We'll have to wait from the official sources. And briefly speaking about actions, that thing at the end of episode 110 of Frieza seemingly about to blast Goku into bits, that's not the case. If you remember what Frieza said to Goku, it's more like he's returning the favor. Yeah, he's gonna be healing Goku and giving him some of his energy to either get even with the Saiyans, that means he's got a clear conscience, or he now has Goku beholden to him because he's more useful to him alive because of that Ultra Instinct power. Frieza wants some of that. Couple True Golden Frieza with Ultra Instinct, then you might have someone who could become the new Omni King maybe. Certainly a God of Destruction at least. Now when it comes to the community at large, these two episodes provided a huge shot in the arm when it comes to the fandom. After 11 episodes of roughly the same thing, I can imagine people were getting a little bit bored and wanted to see some kind of conclusion, or at least see Jiren do something, and that's exactly what they got. Toei knew what they were doing, and we got that Goku vs Jiren fight being hyped up severely. At first we thought this was the climax of the arc, but no, we're not even halfway yet, so there's still more to come. Will there be a round 3 of Goku vs Jiren once Goku gets used to the Ultra Instinct powers? Well, we might get that. Similar to how the fact that Battle of Gods, when we saw Super Saiyan God, and then when Goku fell out of that and he used regular Super Saiyan, he was stronger than he was before. Muscle memory. Goku has unique muscle memory to his advantage, and I think a similar thing might happen with his new Ultra Instinct form. In time, he will be able to tap into that power, or at least attain it a lot easier than he did before. He doesn't have to make a Spirit Bomb and then hurl himself into it like he did the first time. Might Goku never need to use Super Saiyan again once he's mastered Ultra Instinct? Who knows? Or maybe this is something you could stack on top of Super Saiyan, and oh boy, if that's the case, then that's just way too overpowered. but it would be pretty awesome seeing that aura with the yellow hair. Yeah, imagine that. Now let's go back to you, the community. From the comments that I saw for the review, nearly all of you enjoyed the special. This special was a make or break move on Toei's part when it comes to Dragon Ball Super. They took a big risk here, hyping all of this up. Had these two episodes not lived up to expectations, then this could have severely damaged Super's reputation, and I don't think that this arc would have actually survived all the blowback from this lackluster special. Thankfully though, that didn't happen. That gamble paid off, and if you're asking me how can I be so sure of that, then I can assure you that you might have been having a little bit of trouble trying to source it on Crunchyroll or AnimeLeds or whatever legal streaming service that you use. Yeah, that episode broke the internet and it was hard to find, so that speaks volumes. And we can be even more optimistic going forward because we know we're going to be getting a good fight as well when the likes of Hit and Jiren. Didn't you just get the shivers when Hit replied to Jiren's patronizing moniker of just saying, "Oh, you Universe 6 assassin, what are you doing?" And Hit just goes, "I'm working." Oh, working never sounded so badass. Finally, I wish to address some of your comments/feedback that you had for me that I thought was very worth talking about. These two comments in particular were certainly worth thinking about, and I just wish to present to you my thoughts on them. So, here's the first one from Ranker SNP. By skipping Super Saiyan, you broke this scene. Goku throws Kamehameha at base power. It is unable to even reach Jiren. He turns Super Saiyan. Goku is still unable to physically touch Jiren. Super Saiyan 2. Goku deals no damage whatsoever, but he makes physical contact, which we can see by Jiren's head moving 0.5 millimeter with the kick. Super Saiyan God makes Jiren actually block, but at the same time showing Goku that this level of power still means absolutely nothing. As for the exposition from out of the ring, I think that maybe, just maybe, just about every single person on Earth complaining about Goku not going all out all the time might have something to do with it being in the show. That is quite right. I forgot to mention that Super Saiyan 1 was indeed used to try and gauge Jiren's power. It was very brief and I did miss it, and it was quite clear though when I actually went back to look at it that it wasn't going to do anything whatsoever. It had about as much effect as that form did against Super Android 13, as in barely nothing, except without that punch. And I think you know what I mean. Ranker also mentioned that Krillin and the Supreme Kai might be representing two factions of the Dragon Ball fandom, or the people that surround Dragon Ball, in terms of explaining what's going on. The Supreme Kai representing the beings that are just desperately wanting Goku to use his strongest form from the get-go and just wow us with his power and just not really think about strategy whatsoever, just as long as it looks cool. And then the likes of Krillin representing Toei, the more reserved fans, and the makers just saying, hold your horses guys, Goku's just doing what he does, he's just sticking to character. You know what, I hadn't really thought about it that way. That exposition actually serves a purpose, so thank you sir, very interesting. Now this second comment comes from the likes of Killtech, and he has an interesting theory about why Goku survived the Super Spirit Bomb backfire. After the whole Spirit Bomb event, we saw Goku struggling to keep the power in check. He already absorbed the Spirit Bomb once, but it basically raises the odds in my mind that it is possible. Goku blacked out while being inside the Genki Dama's mini black hole, but his body still struggled instinctively. His instincts took over and absorbed the blast. I figure that when Goku came back, he was still unconscious. During the whole fight, Goku's body was fighting Jiren. He only acted on instinct, aka Ultra Instinct. Gohan even said that Goku doesn't seem like his usual self and moves differently. His Saiyan body wanted to fight so badly that it basically moved without any consciousness. Killtech carried on some more to state that as Goku regained consciousness, his form was beginning to struggle. He was flitting in and out of consciousness, and the form was becoming more and more unstable. When he finally fell out of the form and wound up next to Vegeta, Goku couldn't remember a single thing about what happened whilst he was still in his Ultra Instinct form, and that was because, as Killtech said, that was his body doing the talking and the walking. That is very interesting. Perhaps we'll talk about it more in detail in another video. So thank you Killtech for that really insightful bit. So there we go. That was, I think, the fallout from Dragon Ball Super episodes 109 and 110. There was a lot to get through, and it provided a lot of positive feedback from everyone that I've seen online. It was a fantastic experience which inspired the Dragon Ball community once again. We were getting a little bit worried about the Tournament of Power, but not anymore. But for now, we can only just sit back and relax and just take in what we just witnessed. It was amazing. So what do you guys think? Did you like what my commenters thought? Did you actually like the episodes in general? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!